Well, Span is a differentiation product. It's a pretty revolutionary set of products. I'm going to quickly walk through each of them here. The Span panel, the flagship product, it's a smart panel. It's an intelligent electrical panel. It's a reinvention of 100-year-old technology. The standard electrical panel that's still being installed on most homes at this point in time hasn't been improved upon in really 100 years, technology-wise. Then secondly, we're going to talk a little bit about the Span EV charger, Span Drive, and the intelligence that that provides. And lastly, and what I'm going to do for everybody, I'm going to spend about 5 minutes demonstrating the Span home app experience. It's something that all of you should get comfortable with if you want to talk about Span. It's a tremendous sales companion. The Span home app is how homeowners interact with and learn more about their home consumption on a daily basis, and really understand what the Span experience is at the tip of their at their fingertips or in the palm of their hand. So it's really the experience that ties everything together via the Span home app that makes the experience so special. I am going to give everybody a 5-minute demonstration virtually of how you can use this app as a tool, as a sales companion to talk about Span and really help you sell the technology for you, right? You don't need to know a ton about it. You can really understand exactly what the Span experience is, and this tool will do it for you. So what I'm going to do here is actually stop sharing this, and I'm going to share my cell phone screen. Can we confirm this is able to be seen here?
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. So I'm going to run through this real quick, just in the interest of time. If you download the Span home app, really, you can go into any app store, Apple or Google, and just type Span home app, download this. It's free. You don't need credentials to do what I'm going to do. If you open up the app, obviously you can log in. That's if you have a Span panel and you want to be interacting with the panel on your house. But if you're just interested in learning more, or you're a salesperson like all of you, you can click into this Explore Span Simulated Home button, click the Watts residence, and then this is going to bring you into a one-for-one experience for what a homeowner can expect to experience when they have a Span app. Effectively, what you see here is very similar to some of the other apps, right? Tesla, SolarEdge, Enphase, Franklin. It's showing you how much solar production is happening. It's showing you what's going on with the battery, what's going on with the grid. It's showing you whole home aggregate consumption data, right? This is all pretty similar stuff to what you might be used to, and how energy is flowing through the panel. There are a few scenes here that switch every 5 or 6 seconds just for the purposes of the demo. It just switched over there. What we provide that no other application on the market provides at this point in time is a circuit by circuit, appliance by appliance consumption profile, not just an aggregate experience, right? You saw the scene just switch there. But we're providing the homeowner with a lot more data, and therefore a lot more knowledge and the ability to make more informed decisions about what's going on in their home. So right here, you can see the top 5 circuits currently being used or consuming energy, how much they're consuming and what percentage of that overall consumption is happening in that moment. I'm going to click into one of these circuits, the electric water heater. I'm going to show you what a circuit looks like here. You have full on-off control remotely from the application anywhere in the world. You can turn something on and off wherever you are. If you left the curling iron on, you went out to dinner, and you're like, damn, I think I left the curling iron on. You can shut that off real quickly. It's a great peace of mind functionality. Additionally, you have usage data on a time horizon, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. You can see that on this electric water heater circuit, 1.2 kilowatts have been used on that circuit, that specific circuit, right? And it can tell you basically from a monthly basis what's going on. If you go to the day, you can see at what time of day you're using that circuit. You might think to yourself, that's really compelling if I'm in a time of use on a time of use rate plan, right? If I've got a pool pump, for example, that's running from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day, and I start to see that, I go, wait a minute, I probably don't want that to run at that time of day, or much of anything to run at that time of day unless I absolutely need it, because that's an expensive period of the day to be consuming energy, right? With an aggregate usage experience, you don't get this level of detail. It's not going to tell you right out of the gate, hey, you should probably change your behavior because that's an expensive period of time to be consuming energy. So that's really one pillar of what SPAN does very well. It gives people a lot more information about how they're consuming their energy on a circuit by circuit or appliance by appliance basis, not just this aggregate experience that doesn't tell you a whole lot, right? You can see every single circuit in the home by activity, by area, and how it's physically landed in the panel. And you can click into any one of these circuits and have exactly the information that you need and the full control of that circuit. That's one pillar of what SPAN does really well. I'm going to pivot over to the next pillar of what SPAN does really well. So I'm going to click on this settings tab at the bottom here, and I'm going to initiate a fake outage. It's going to ping the homeowner. They're going to get a message that says your power's out, right? And you have 4 hours and 51 minutes of backup. Would you like to extend your backup by prioritizing circuits? Yes, I would. Great. So you're going to come into this experience here and get the SPAN backup experience, which is a very compelling experience and is much more flexible and provides a lot more peace of mind than your standard experience. What we have here is 3 buckets: must-have circuits, nice-to-have circuits, and non-essential circuits. The non-essential circuits are self-explanatory. Those turn off as soon as the power goes out. Nice-to-have will remain on as long as the battery state of charge is at 50% or above. The minute it dips below 50%, these are automatically turned off. And must-have will stay on as long as you have battery state of charge, right? And in the current state, we're giving you a much more readable metric than a percentage. We're telling you exactly how much time you have left of backup in that current state, right? Percentage is arbitrary. When your phone pings you when you get down to 20%, how much longer do you have on that battery? Well, it depends. Are you FaceTiming, or are you just sending text messages or emails or surfing the web? If you're FaceTiming, you might have 30 minutes, right? But if you're just texting and emailing, you might have 2 hours or so. Same concept is true for your home battery. And because we have that circuit by circuit consumption profile, you're able to know exactly to the minute how much time you have. You're able to set this stuff up ahead of time, set and forget. And if you need to make changes in real time, you can do so. I'm going to kick the garage lights over, and we're going to gain some time on your battery backup here. This is super compelling, super flexible. It provides a whole home like battery experience with maybe not needing 2 or 3 batteries, right? If you have a system that can't power on, say, your air conditioning, because the startup amperage just isn't high enough doesn't have enough juice to be able to do that. In the commissioning process, you check a box to lock that load out. It'll show up in non-essentials. It'll be grayed out. They won't have the ability to turn it on because the circuits can go left or right here. You can turn things on that were turned off, and you're going to gain or lose time depending on what you did, right? If you do have
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
On that. I was just going to say, now, is that factoring in the PV that's being generated live time during the day? So it knows it, like, hey,
Yes.
Solar's on, it's powering most of my house. I'm not really draining my battery at the moment. And then once the sun goes down, PV is no longer being generated. It would adjust accordingly.
Yeah, it collates all of this information. So we have consumption data in the home, circuit by circuit. We have production data, right? We know what the size of your battery is. It's factoring all of that information into this time. So if it knows the sun's going to come up in 2 hours, it's factoring that in and your usual production of solar into this time, right? This is extremely valuable, especially in a state like California now with NEM 3, where many people are going to start arbitraging down to their reserve percentage on their battery every night. And what if the power goes out? Last night, I live in Costa Mesa, California, in Southern California. My power went out at 3:30 in the morning. I don't have SPAN. I don't have battery backup. My house got really hot after about an hour and I had trouble getting back to sleep, right? Like, even if it's an outage for a few hours, it's something that's powerful, especially if you're down to your reserve because you've been arbitraging all night because you're not getting favorable export rates. You're able to stretch that percentage, that 30% out considerably longer than you would be able to if you didn't have the SPAN experience and the ability to do that, right? You're able to move these loads however you'd like in real time, or you can set and forget or do a combination of both, right? Does that answer your question, Jarrett?
It does, and that's incredible.
Absolutely. So that's the demo, folks. Everybody, I would challenge you to download this app, get comfortable with it, get comfortable demonstrating it virtually like I've done for everybody today. It's extremely powerful, and it's going to be a great sales companion for you when talking about span. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to jump back over to the presentation here. Cool. So you can scan these QR codes depending on what app store you have, or you can just type in Span Home app into the app store and it'll pop right up. Awesome. So what does that mean for everybody? That's a really cool technology. It's fun to show that, but what does that really mean for you? Well, it simplifies and maximizes the battery backup sales offering. No longer do you got to have a critical loads conversation, right? Which 6 to 8 loads do you want to back up? Well, I don't really know. Let me get back to you. And then maybe if, they change their mind, you got to redesign the project. If they change their mind after the fact, they have to actually have somebody come out and rewire the system. It's not a great customer experience, right? Or a sales experience. That all goes away with Span. The homeowner can decide whatever they want to back up in real time. They can set it, forget it. They can make changes in real time. Makes talking about electrical changes a lot easier when you bring up Span. We all know that main panel upgrades are a bummer. We know that that's, the big bad wolf. We don't want to talk about electrical infrastructure changes. Span makes it easier to do that. You're not going to be able to avoid it. It's going to continue to come up. It's going to get even worse, right? Span can help you avoid a main panel upgrade if you live in a state like or you're selling in a state like California, Arizona, parts of Nevada, parts of Colorado, parts of Texas, parts of Florida. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then it allows you to differentiate your approach in a competitive landscape, right? Don't get caught in that pricing war and that race to the bottom. You guys already have a very competitive price. Layer that on top of the fact that you're providing an entirely different sales experience, and you're going to win that deal every time, right? It's going to help you generate more revenue per project and just generally streamline your sales process. Now, what does this mean for your customer? It's equally as important, right? Well, Span's an energy savings dashboard for their home. To that example earlier, if say your pool pump's running from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day, and you didn't really know because your life's happening and you're not thinking about that kind of stuff, but you're just going through your Span app to see kind of what's going on, we'll be able to tell you that right away. Oh, maybe I should change my behavior. With an aggregate usage experience, you're not going to know that level of detail to be able to make those finite changes to save money on your electrical bill, right? It's the best battery backup experience on the market. We just showed you why that's the case. And it future readies your home for electrification, namely adding EV charging to 100 amp, 125 amp homes. We'll talk more about that in a minute. You're going to delight your customers and you're going to create more referrals. Time and time again, we hear stories of people going out to barbecues or parties and showing the Span app to their friends and family or their neighbors and really creating that FOMO, right? Where do you think that sale is going to come back to? It's going to come back to you, right? It's going to create that referral for you out in the market organically. Awesome. Changing gears a bit here. This is a very technical slide, but it's an important slide. We're going to walk through some optimal use cases for Span in some different markets. The top two here are for markets like California, Arizona, parts of Nevada, parts of Colorado, and parts of Texas and Florida, where there are meter main combo panels, where the meter and the main panel are in the same enclosure, right? Span can help avoid the main panel upgrade of that panel in these states in many scenarios, okay? So you don't have to upgrade the main panel. You don't have to deal with the utility and the long lead time that's created when getting a new meter spot, getting a disconnect, reconnect, and doing that main panel upgrade. This is especially compelling when that homeowner wants to add battery backup. Whether it's partial home traditionally or whole home, it doesn't matter with Span. We're able to accommodate any count of battery effectively because Span avoids the MPU, becomes the critical loads panel. All of the labor you would have done for the MPU is now done with Span. That cancels it out and it becomes the critical loads panel. So it's actually less labor if you're doing traditional partial home, and it's the same exact labor if you're doing traditional whole home when avoiding an MPU. and you don't have to deal with the utility. You guys get paid a lot faster. You get to PTO much quicker, right? This can be done in a number of scenarios, not 100% of the scenarios. We'll talk a little bit about that and the tool that we're rolling out to help you guys diagnose this quickly. These are two of the most optimal use cases in those types of states. I want to jump down to the bottom two in a state that doesn't have a meter main combo. So pretty much all of the other states that I didn't just mention, and even in parts of Florida, parts of Texas, parts of Nevada and Colorado, it's a split situation. Sometimes there'll be a meter main combo. Sometimes it'll be a standalone meter and the actual main panel is separate from the meter. Span can be the main panel in that scenario where the meter is standalone. If you have to do an MPU or a main panel upgrade, Span can become that main panel. And if traditionally you were doing partial home and also needing to do a critical loads panel, no more. You can use Span as both the new main panel and the critical loads panel in one enclosure, so it's less labor. And if you're doing whole home, Span becomes the main panel and also becomes the whole home backup loads panel in the same box, right? Just as you traditionally would. So it's the same labor. The two ones I want to call out in the middle. So if you're in a state with a meter main combo, the ones I mentioned, California, Arizona, etc., and you want to do whole home, traditional whole home backup, you have to relocate all of the loads out of that meter main combo into a new panel. That new panel can be Span. So it's the same labor. The area where we are a little bit more labor is if no main panel upgrade is needed and they only want to do traditional partial home backup, which you would just relocate 6 to 8 loads. We are going to be a little more labor in that scenario because you're relocating all of the loads, right? So we want to call that out. I want to be transparent about that. We are slightly more labor. By the way, this is all built into the intelligence in your pricing tools. So don't worry too much about what you just add the Span line item. Everything else will be taken care of depending on where you're at and what the situation is. But I want to call these scenarios out for you so that if you are a little more technical, then you can know when Span is really going to fit well. Awesome. Any questions? I want to
looking at the chat, people, not so many. Okay, so I have Carlos. He said, is there any way to offer Span panel to a homeowner that already have a solar system? How can we start switching the process? I'll answer that right now, Carlos. I do not believe we are not currently doing standalone items. Like we don't just sell battery without PV. We don't sell panels without PV. So unfortunately at this time, we don't have the resources, nor do many solar companies. Not to say that'll always be the case, but yes, right now we do not just sell Span by itself. Yes, shorter sales cycles. When can we expect Span integration with Franklin batteries?
So we just announced the official integration last week on a very successful webinar. Anything you sell today is going to be able to sell Franklin with Span today because we're going to go official with it in the next couple of weeks here. And the timeline on the install is going to be way further than that. So start selling Span with Franklin. We'll talk a little bit in a minute here about how Franklin, because of the startup amperage on their battery, is actually a super perfect marriage with Span because you do truly get a whole home backup experience with one battery with Span. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute.
And you guys, just to reiterate with what's, sorry about that. Just to reiterate what Scott's saying, as far as I can't tell you how invaluable this is, especially in California where we feel the pain. If we need to do an MPU, it's within 3 feet of a gas line. Now they need to do a meter spot. And then, okay, it has underground fed wiring. And you got to deal with PG&E, trenching, moving, all that is a nightmare. And, for the same or a couple bucks more, you could add a Span panel and eliminate that headache. I've had in some instances, those projects extend another 6-9 months due to the utility. This gets it done. It gives them a better product, a better customer experience. This is incredible, Scott. So,
yeah, awesome. That's a great segue to this slide. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because it's pretty technical, but effectively what we're showing here is that by relocating all of the loads into Span as a sub panel, California, Arizona, again, parts of Colorado, parts of Nevada, parts of Texas, parts of Arizona, where you have the meter main combo, avoid replacing it at all costs. Use SPAN to get all of the solar backfeed you need and to avoid a service feed upgrade into the house, whether overhead or underground. Both. You avoid both of that, right? And we'll talk more about the service feed upgrade in a minute. But as you can see in the right-hand column here, you can get all of the solar backfeed you need by doing this. This is completely compliant. It's all above board. The NEC supported code sections are listed here if you want to dive a little deeper. We are going to roll out a tool for everybody that's selling in these markets to very quickly help you diagnose whether SPAN can be utilized as an MPU avoidance solution. This is going to be hugely critical for you guys moving forward. So definitely start to utilize this. And we're my team and the Powur design team and ops team are going to help you diagnose this quickly. Awesome. Moving forward, this is probably one of the most important slides in this entire deck. I want to talk a little bit about buyer psychology right now. I think this moving forward, especially in states with unfavorable export rates like California, net metering, this is a question you want to ask everybody, right? I think there are two types of buyers out there. There's the people that are staunchly ROI driven, return on investment driven. They want to save a few bucks on their energy bill, and they have no concern with their system working when the power goes out. That's a pretty good group of people, right? And that's fine. SPAN may work with that customer. You can install SPAN with that customer, but it may not work with that customer, right? And that's okay. There's a whole other very large group of people that buy more on emotion, right? They value resiliency. They value peace of mind. Think about how many people have these robust camera systems and security systems and Ring doorbell cameras. People value resiliency. Ask this question. Let the homeowner tell you what type of buyer they are. Don't decide for them what type of buyer they are. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You're going to sell a higher ticket project if they answer yes to this question, because right then and there, you know that they value resiliency and backup. Utilize SPAN to lean into that type of customer, right? If you don't ask this question, they may not reveal to you that this is the type of buyer that they are. This is hugely critical in California, where you're going to be, already throwing a battery on the house. If you don't ask this question, you may end up with a bad either, current sales experience in that moment or post-install user experience when that homeowner thinks that their system's going to work when the power goes out and it doesn't, right? Ask this question. Get ahead of it. Figure out if that customer is in that buying group that values resiliency. SPAN, because of the flexibility and the automation, extends battery backup by 40% on average. We ran a simulation with 1,200 homes, and we were able to find that because of the automation, mainly because of that nice to have bucket where those are shed the minute the battery dips below 50%, we're able to extend the battery system in an outage by on average by 40%. If you're talking about a Franklin system where the startup amperage is able to power on most HVAC systems in this country, you get a true whole home backup experience when paired with SPAN with one Franklin battery. This is something that would normally take 2 or 3 batteries, right? One SPAN panel plus Franklin, or just one battery in general, is going to cost you way less than 2 or 3 batteries without SPAN, right? So you're driving the overall cost of the job down and still providing the exact same experience, right? So if you're able to power on the HVAC system, you probably put it in that middle bucket. Once the battery state of charge dips below 50%, then it's going to shed those loads. And again, you always have the flexibility of turning things on and off in real time. So it's just it's a match made in heaven, so to speak, to be able to power on every single load in your house with one battery and have this type of flexibility with SPAN. That's what you're going to get with Franklin. And it's okay with the other systems as well. You just lock out, if it's one battery and you need to lock out a load like the air conditioning, that's fine. That's okay. That homeowner might come back to, I know you guys aren't selling standalone battery systems, but I think at some point in the future, you probably will be able to. So they'll be able to back up everything else other than maybe that air conditioning. The cool thing about Franklin is they'll be able to power on that air conditioning in most cases. Cool. Awesome. So switching gears here, no pun intended. I'm going to move real quickly because in the interest of time. Span Drive. This is our EV charger. You can sell it through Solo and Vision. It's available to you. We are compatible with all electric vehicle chargers. Span is listed as an energy management system in the National Electrical Code, meaning that with any electric vehicle charger, you can get full capacity fast charge, level 2 EV charge, without including that load on the load calculation of the home. What that means is you don't need a service feed upgrade to be able to get that full fast charge, which otherwise you would need that service feed upgrade, especially if you have a 100 amp home or a 125 amp home, right? With Span, you don't need to do the service feed upgrade. You avoid the main panel upgrade, or in the case of standalone meter markets, you become the main panel, but you avoid the expensive underground service feed upgrade, or even the overhead upgrade that can be somewhat expensive as well. And you still get full capacity charge. With Span Drive, we're going to throttle that load based on other loads turning on the house so that there's never a main breaker trip event. With a different EV charger, any other one on the market, we're going to pause it and then turn it back on as soon as it's safe to do so. All of this happening in the background automatically, so that you're most of the time always getting a full 48 amp charge or 40 amp charge. Again, killing two birds with one stone. Of it in states where you can avoid a main panel upgrade and a service feed upgrade. This is hugely compelling. Use the Span Drive as a sales tool. Throw it in for free. It's only a $550 or $575 item, right? Use it to close the business. Ask them if they're getting an electric vehicle anytime soon, or if they already have one and they're not happy with their charging experience. Throw it in for free. It's a nominal amount of money. Charge the labor. It's going to be cheaper labor because you're already on site doing the renewables project. Use it as a tool, right? Because it's going to help you close the business. Awesome. I'm going to run through this talk track quickly. This is imagine I'm you and you're the homeowner. Great news. We've designed an excellent renewable system for your house that is going to save you money, make you green, and prepare you for the future. We do need to perform some electrical work as part of the installation. Whenever we do that, we show a really cool solution we offer called the SPAN panel, short for Smart Electric Panel. This is what you get with it. And we've talked about all this, right? Circuit by circuit energy usage insight, turn off or on any circuit from your home anywhere in the world, best backup experience in the market, and future ready your home for EV charging or other modern appliances. Your home's most likely going to need some electrical infrastructure changes that we can take care of. Invest a bit more today, get it back in savings, and be ready for the future, right? That's the talk track. Screenshot this, turn it into your own pitch, use your own language, but this is essentially how you want to approach using Span when electrical changes are needed in the home. Again, so live in Solo, live in Powur Vision, the labor is built in, and the labor includes MPU labor, whether you're avoiding it or becoming the MPU. And includes the labor and materials if a critical loads panel would traditionally be needed. All of that's included. And your guys' red line for this is the best I've seen. It's extremely competitive. We're working on the red line even more myself with the operations team. So it's in there. It's available. Use it. It's ready for you, as well as the Span Drive. And then tying this all together, what does this really mean, right? What do you get and what does the customer get with Span? And what is the implication from an economic perspective? Well, it's 50 cents more a day in most scenarios, right? About that, right? Between that and maybe 75 cents a day on a lease or a PPA. It might be slightly more on a loan because of the dealer fees where they're at these days, but that's what we're looking at here. It's a nominal adder to the monthly payment, right? To add Span instead of a standard MPU, or to add Span to avoid the MPU and avoid a standard backup loads panel, right? And then what do you get? Avoid utility backlog, faster installs, faster time to PTO, more referrals, differentiates your sales experience. And what does the homeowner get? We've talked about all these value, right? Energy savings dashboard, best backup experience, ability to turn circuits on and off, future ready the home. Awesome. So it's really that simple. Here's again the QR code to download the Span Home app. Get familiar with it. It's going to be the best tool for you out in the market. Also visit the marketing center, knowledge base. There's a ton of resources and information about SPAN, FAQs, all kinds of great stuff. So that's really it. Again, thank you everybody for sitting in on this presentation. Sorry if you've been on other presentations and this is redundant, but I'm sure you probably caught something that you didn't catch in a previous one. But again, I do office hours every Tuesday morning, right before this call from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific. It's on the Powur calendar. Join if you need more information. Shoot me an email or a text message if you got questions or you want to talk about selling through some objections that you might have run up against. I'm a resource. I'm the liaison. I'm your champion at SPAN. So reach out to me.